When I moved to Saudi Arabia, I felt like I was absolutely depressed. And it's not because of the country. I could not lose the rest of the weight. What the hell's going on? So if you haven't watched part 1 of this video, you need to go and watch part 1 in order to understand part 2. Now, as someone who's been losing weight for the past year and a half at this point, I felt like I knew what to do when it came to weight loss. It's pretty much easy. Eat in a calorie deficit, move more, do your workouts, and you're going to be just fine. So someone explained to me why I just started gaining weight. What the hell's going on here? Well, I will tell you exactly what was going on there. When I moved to Saudi Arabia, going out for a walk no longer became an option. It's way too hot. And not is it only too hot, there's not really people walking around out there, especially when I moved. And where we moved was pretty much a very conservative area. Women never used to go out alone. And to be honest, nobody really used to walk the street. It wasn't really one of those places. The part of Saudi Arabia that I moved to was pretty much very quiet, very countryside looking-ish. And to be honest, sometimes you'll be walking around and you'll see like stray dogs or a random lizard somewhere, like the big fat ones. It just didn't feel safe. So walking outside now became something that felt like an extreme sport. When am I going to do that and how am I going to do that? The only time I was able to do that was in the winter. And obviously time is of the essence. We can't just wait for the winter to get back into shape. So I remember I was at home the majority of the time. My husband was going out to work. And I found myself just doing chores around the house and cooking and all of that normal stuff. But then I realized my average step count went from being like 8 to 10K a day when I was in London versus 1.5 to 2K a day. And now I'm wondering why the weight is not coming off. Now, I was eating pretty much the same as I was in the UK, except now I was going out on the weekends a little bit more. There's more halal food, so the options are looking great. It's the honeymoon period, so we're eating a little bit more. I had to catch myself. So I remember thinking, I need to do something about this. Going out right now for a walk is not an option. I need to start taking my calories a little bit more seriously. Now, when you are on a calorie deficit, typically you can be on a higher calorie deficit if your activity is a lot more. But if your activity is a little bit less, you probably want to cut that out a little bit. So I had to start eating a little bit less and just paying more attention to the types of foods that I was consuming, keeping my protein high, etc., etc. And I remember the weight loss being extremely slow. At this point, when I was in Saudi at this point, women-only gyms weren't really a thing. It wasn't very common to find or to drive past a women's-only gym, especially where we lived. We were pretty out of the city. And it just felt like I lost a big part of myself. Like, I was someone that was working out on a regular basis, as you saw in part 1. And suddenly, I'm not going to the gym anymore. I'm not working out. It was just really hard to get back on track. And as you can imagine, it's a whole different routine. I just got married. This is a different life. I've never been here before. You get homesick and suddenly you just feel like maybe this is it now. Maybe I'm married now and this is going to be who I have to accept myself to be. So one day, I remember this very vividly. I was in the kitchen. It was after dinner and I was washing dishes. So I usually just listen to like a podcast or something whilst doing that. Yeah, I was happily doing that and then something just hit me. And I remember I literally just started crying. Like real tears. And my husband's looking at me like, are you all right? Like, what the hell's going on? Why are you crying? And I literally just broke down because at this point, it had been like months. I've been trying to lose weight. I feel like I've completely lost myself and I wasn't happy in the body that I was in. Now, that is not to body shame. It's just that's not where I wanted to be. I had higher hopes for myself. My standard was a little bit more higher because what I was able to achieve before, I felt like I can achieve more than that, especially now that I'm in Saudi Arabia and I'm going to have so much more free time. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go. And my husband was like, what's the problem? Like, is it you need to sign up to a gym? Like, would you feel more comfortable with that? Can we find a gym? So we're looking for a gym. We can't find anything. And I remember it had been weeks. We're looking for a gym. We can't find not one single women's only gym. So he was like, okay, fine. Why don't we get some workout stuff to put in the house? I thought, oh my God, fantastic idea. So in Saudi homes, typically, there are always like a spare room. It's either going to be like a maid's room or it's going to be like a guest room, something like that. So we had like a big guest room and we went out, bought a whole load of workout stuff like weights, dumbbells, mats, everything that I could need, just the basics. And I started working out at home. And at this point, I thought, this is fantastic. So I had been doing that a few weeks, a few months went by. Literally, I was doing that every single day. But I noticed still the weight was coming off extremely slowly. Like, it's never been this slow. And I do believe that it was pretty much a problem with the lack of movement. Because even though you're working out every day, so how long can you work out for? An hour tops, right? So you're doing an hour of a workout a day. I knew exactly what I was doing. I'd been working out for a while, but the weight is barely coming off because I'm not moving. I'm barely doing any steps. So I decided there are two things I'm going to do every single day from now, because I knew what the missing piece of the puzzle was. I knew that I needed to move more. Moving around in the house, doing chores, cleaning and cooking was not enough. I needed to do more. So in Saudi homes, in the villas, there's usually a roof at the top, right? So every single day, I'd wake up early, I would go upstairs to my roof and I would do my steps there in the heat with the sun over my head. But at least I wasn't wearing my niqab and my abaya and stuff. So I would go up and walk around my roof for about 35 to 45 minutes every day. Then I would come downstairs and work out for about an hour. I would do that every single day. And finally, the weight started coming off because now the movement is becoming more. And I also started to do things like going up and down my staircase in the villa, which is absolutely insane because, to be honest, when I think about it, it was like super dusty there because it's outside of the house. But that's the best I could do. I feel like I was putting in 2 hours a day, like not 2 hours a week, like 2 hours a day of just moving more so that I can make sure that I'm getting to where I wanted to be. So I started losing a kilo here and there, 2 kilos, 3 kilos, things are looking good. Now hear this, one day, me and my husband were walking around in one of the, it's called the souk, okay, like, I don't even know how to translate that into English, but like streets of like shopping areas, right? And you see this big sign, ladies' gym. Ya Allah, I wanted to die. This is the most exciting day of my entire life. At this point, I've been in Saudi Arabia for at least 7-8 months. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a women's only gym. So I go in there, I check it out. Guys, it is the most basic gym ever, but it's literally all I had. And I cherished it and I loved it. Started going there every day, started working out consistently. The weight was coming off, things were looking great. And at this point, I think I had lost about 6 kilos, still just had a few more kilos to go. And then I got a job. And then things went downhill from there, because what happens when you get a job? You're now consumed with your work. You're working all these hours, you're marking, you're going into meetings, etc. And then I realized I was, again, spending a lot of my days being sat down. But I was adamant that I am going to keep going. So I started doing things like, on my lunch break, I would walk around the whole university campus every single day. You want to join me? Come and join me. You don't want to join me? Don't join me. Also, because I was teaching at the time, I would actually put my chair away. So I used to teach for 2 hours straight, would not sit down once. Unless obviously I actually had to for marking. But otherwise, I just wouldn't. I had like, you know those big tables where you can stand and put your laptop there? That's all I was doing. Stand up the entire time. I started intermittent fasting. I would make sure that I would not eat until it's my lunch break. I would have my lunch and I would walk around the entire campus and come back every single day. And then 2 or 3 times a week, I would go to the gym. Now at this point, they opened up a new gym and the gym was amazing. Like at this point, Saudi was really getting into like women's fitness, sports in general. Things are looking excellent. This gym was the best. It was like 30-minute drive away, but alhamdulillah, my husband would literally drive me there anytime I wanted. I'd finish work, come home, make sure dinner was ready, everything. He would go all the way there, drop me off. Sometimes he would even wait for me outside because it was too long to go back and then come back. But it was absolutely amazing. And before you ask, why didn't you just drive there? Why didn't you have an Uber or whatever it is? At the time, Ubers weren't really a thing in Saudi Arabia. and I wasn't driving. Actually, women weren't allowed to drive at that time. Alhamdulillah, they are now, but at the time they weren't. And so it was like really like bending over backwards. But I would go to the gym for like an hour, hour and a half, 3 times a week on average, including the weekend. And it was absolutely amazing. I managed to get down to my ideal weight. I remember, oh my God, when I hit that 65 kg, it was the happiest day of my life. I remember, hold on, let me just show you. I literally got on the scale and I looked down. Oh, it was amazing. I was like, really? Really? I don't need to be on a calorie deficit anymore? But obviously, knowing me, I wanted more. I wanted more. So I started to eat a little bit more. I still maintained like my workouts and stuff like that, which was great. But then I was like, I still want to lose a little bit more weight. So I carried on going. And then guess what happened? I ended up in another job. So now I was maintaining 2 jobs. Don't tell me why were you doing all of this? I wanted to, okay? I didn't have kids, and to be honest, I didn't really have anything else to do. And it was a good opportunity to make money. So I was like, okay, fine. Now I've got 2 jobs. How the hell am I going to maintain 2 jobs and still work out? Now, I was maintaining the same kind of habits of not sitting down whilst I'm teaching. So I would teach standing. We're not sitting down. And to be honest, they kind of had a rule anyway of like minimally sitting down, keeping sitting as a minimum. As a minimum, I don't speak English. They had a rule anyway that you need to keep sitting down as an absolute minimum. Obviously, you perform better as a teacher when you're walking around and talking and stuff like that. It's more interactive. So what I was doing, I would go to work, and after that work, I would go into another job. But in that other job, there was a 2-hour break. In that 2-hour break, I had a driver at the time. I would get my driver to pick me up and go all the way to the gym. I'd work out in the gym, shower in the gym, and then come back to teach for the rest of the 2 hours. And I was doing that maybe 4 times a week at this point. I was very adamant. What I would do is, oh my God, I don't know whether I should say this. I'm going to say this anyway. So because I knew I wanted to maintain all of this lifestyle, I wanted to go to work, I wanted to make a bit of money, I was enjoying my job, but I also still wanted to maintain my fitness levels, I would wear my gym clothes under my teaching clothes. So you had to wear like a skirt and like a formal shirt. So under, I would wear my gym gear, my gym leggings, and nobody could tell. And then I would go to the gym, do that, change, come back, like change, shower, come back and carry on. And then by the end of the day, I'd literally just have my dinner and the day's done. And it was excellent. Like I was literally thriving. And I got down to my real ideal weight, which was 63, 62 kg. And like, alhamdulillah, I've been maintaining that ever since. So one big lesson that I learned from all of this is literally being on a fitness journey when you're in the UK versus being on a fitness journey when you're in Saudi Arabia or Qatar or the UAE is 2 very complete different things. You have to take culture into consideration. You must take the weather into consideration, because at the end of the day, trying to be on especially a fat loss journey when all the food is halal, conveniently so halal that you can eat anything whenever you want, order food straight to your door. Everything is very quick, very fast. And the lifestyle is pretty much a sit-down lifestyle, very slow lifestyle. In comparison to the UK, I was literally always on my feet, even if I didn't intend to be so. And it just made things a little bit more difficult because now I had to make a conscious choice to change. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm in London or anywhere in the UK, it's so much more easier to get your steps. You don't even think about it. I just remember taking my kids to the park and I've already got 12K in for the day. And I'm like, I don't know where or how that's happened, but it's unintentional. Whereas when you are in a different country, especially a country that doesn't really have even pavements to walk at the time, you have to make a conscious choice. You need to make a conscious choice that I need to physically go out to move, or I need to move at home. So bottom line is, I finally got to my ideal goal, which was 63 kg, and I'm still that weight today, alhamdulillah. And I'm still in Saudi Arabia now. And to be honest, one of the main things that I learned about myself in particular is that if you want something badly, you're going to find a way. And if you don't want something, you're just not going to do it. is they say is you either find a way or you find an excuse. You see, for most expats, people that move to these kind of countries, they use being in these countries as an excuse as to why they have to stay where they are. You could find solutions. There is a solution to every single problem. We are actually very fortunate now to have access to women-only gyms. They are everywhere in Saudi Arabia. They are everywhere in the UAE or in Qatar or in Oman. You don't have to be stuck in your house. I know it's hot. Go out to the gym. If you don't drive, get an Uber. And if you don't want to be in an Uber with a man, there are now Ubers that are only women. You can do things now, like things have changed. So it is a matter of wanting to do so. I know that it's inconvenient. Like when you're in these countries, like getting up and going is so inconvenient. It feels so long. Gyms are so far. Everything is a half-an-hour journey for most ladies. But if it's important to you, you're literally going to do it. And if it's not important to you, then you're just not. So one thing that I can say is if you are in a Western country, like the UK, or you're in Europe or parts of the US that is like easy to move around, that is a big luxury that you don't even know you have. Like you can just do that. You know what we have to do right now to go out for a walk? We often need to get in the car, drive half an hour to go to a mall and walk over there in a mall because it's 49 degrees outside. You don't even have to think about that. You can literally walk around your block. You can literally walk around your block. You don't know what you have until it's taken away. And I didn't know what I had until it was taken away. So use this video as a motivation to do the things that you get to do without batting an eyelid about it. It's not even a decision you have to make. You just get to do it. Lucky you. So yeah, I guess that's the end of this video about my own journey and how I got to where I wanted to be. Now there is like a part 3 and part 4 of this, but I'm not going to do that because this is specifically just about my journey. But the part 3 and part 4 is more about how I became a coach and how I became a PT and how I helped hundreds of ladies do what I did, even when they thought they couldn't. I've literally been on this journey to help people like you that are trying to lose weight. That's how I see it. I had to go through all of this to know what I can do to help other ladies. And alhamdulillah that I got to have this opportunity because it makes me more relatable. Like I'm not just a fitness coach who knows a thing or two and has studied being a PT. No, I'm a fatty at heart. I was there. So I know the challenges. I know the social challenges. And I know, what it's like to be on your honeymoon period and you gain all the weight and then you think, what am I going to do? Maybe this is just it now. I know how to tackle challenges when it comes to fat loss, even when you think there is no solution. And that's one of my unique selling points is that I'm not just any coach. I'm actually relatable because I've been there. So when you tell me, Mariam, I can't get any steps in because I live in ABC country. Yeah, I get you. Here's the solution. So my next video will be pretty much about how I got into coaching and PT and how I've helped hundreds of ladies lose fat and keep it off on the long term and help them feel beautiful and amazing. And I'll be doing lots of videos on motivation and stuff like that and how to stay motivated and how to stay disciplined throughout your fitness journey. I've got so much to say here. So if you're not yet subscribed, you should probably do that, like now. And if you are subscribed, leave a comment and just let me know what you thought. And we'll see you soon.